Hello, this is Paul with All About Neurofeedback, and I'm here today with Eric Walters. And Eric is part of Core Values Counseling. He's a co-owner, and that's Hillsboro, right?
Right, Hillsboro, which is just a sort of a suburb on the west side of Portland, Oregon.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and what brought you into the field of neurofeedback?
Okay. Well, I've been a teacher for 40 years. I just retired as a teacher, but I'm also a certified life coach. And my wife is a marriage and family therapist. So we have a group practice, and we've been helping people since about 2000. Sabrina's been a therapist for, I want to say 20 years, since about 2003. But private practice and now developing group practice where we've had a lot of people that were having issues with everything from sleep and depression, anxiety. And it was like, how do we help these people, not just with talk therapy, but what else is out there? We actually had a personal experience with one of our sons that had some issues, and we did some neurofeedback with someone else. And so we were introduced to it then. And then as our group started growing, it was like, oh, maybe we should do some neurofeedback to help people. And so we've had it going for about 3.5, 4 years now.
Yeah,
Um, and it's been very helpful with a lot of different people, and a lot of different, scenarios, different cases that they're dealing with.
for sure. That's awesome. So for those who are unfamiliar with neurofeedback, how would you describe neurofeedback and its potential benefits?
Neurofeedback is going to be a protocol or way of helping you take your busy mind that has maybe been affected in some way from trauma, from many different things and I'll just give an example of like students I've had that were ADHD that could, they're just sort of, where is things, always being on alert, and getting your mind into the optimal brain pattern is really what it's doing. So if it's hyperactive, it's sort of calming you down. If it's depression, that you're down here, it's sort of bringing you up. But it's optimizing your brain waves in a way that you don't have to think about it. We hook you up to the machine. After we go through and make some goals, go through 90 questions that set the protocols. In other words, what different things we're going to be doing. And you sit there in front, and if there's two major kinds, there's eyes open therapy, and then there's eyes closed, which we use a lot with people with PTSD and stuff. And they're going to just, the brain and the machine are working together to get you into an optimal brain pattern.
Okay. So, what's your take on, thinking about the brain and mental health issues as chemical problems as opposed to electrical patterns in the brain, like brain waves?
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to go back to a little bit with how when we have memories and stuff, normally at night you sleep and your brain sort of files things away. And when you have trauma, when you have other things, sometimes it doesn't. It's going to keep it present. And so the electrical patterns, it's sort of like raised up what's going on, and your brain is more aware of those things. And
Right.
so the neurofeedback can really bring you into that more calm place. It's like building new neural pathways for your brain,
Right. Okay. Neuroplasticity, right?
right?
So you're not a counselor yourself, but your wife is, and you work with the company as a co-owner. So do a lot of the people that do neurofeedback also do counseling?
Yeah. Well, you mean as far as, do our counselors have their clients do both talk
Yeah.
therapy and neurofeedback? Yes.
Okay.
In cases that warrant it, they might have done talk therapy for a while, and it's like, it's not, we're not making the progress that I'd like to have. And so let's try neurofeedback for a while and see if that would benefit things. And so
Right.
they'll do that.
Do you find that that makes the process of resolution to their issues? Do you find it goes a little bit faster if they're using neurofeedback as well?
It can. It depends on what the person needs, but lots of times, just like if you hit a plateau and you're sort of just staying right there, I think that's definitely a place to put it in to see if we can deal with it and help that
Okay.
part of your brain and how you function. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So, when you think about neurofeedback and its benefits, what kind of things have you seen it work with? What kind of conditions or issues people have that get resolution?
Right. And, I haven't seen everything out there.
Yeah.
We're sort of a small practice, and we're just now letting people out there know we're doing neurofeedback. It was more like our counselors knew, and they would direct people, and so we had sort of a
Right.
small thing. So we're reaching out, and letting people know. But I had, we had one lady who I want to say she was in her late 40s, early 50s. She had like 5 kids. She actually, under stress, would pass out
Oh, wow.
5 times a week. Can you imagine just hitting the ground? Uh,
Jeez.
First time that she went through, um, it stopped it. And she continued on. She had some of her kids doing it for other things, but it helped her immensely with that. And that was really, exciting to see. I had a friend that had a stroke, and he had aphasia, which you can't find the right words, or you think you're saying the right words. And it took a while, but he really afterwards said, I just thank you for helping me with that, because he could find the
How,
words.
how does it feel in the moment when you're seeing those kind of results?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I do it, I mean, I get a little endorphins there just helping people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I had another person who, in couples therapy, he was just very angry, sort of emotionally just,
Yeah.
he was in his fight, flight, or freeze part of his brain, okay, with his wife and stuff. And so he went through, and it really helped him calm down and think and stay in that prefrontal cortex where you can actually make rash decisions.
For sure.
Um, that kind of thing happened. I've had a gal that was bipolar and on her medication, but she wanted to get pregnant, and so she wanted to get off some of the lithium with that, and so she was doing neurofeedback to help during that time. Uh, so I mean, it's so many things. ADHD, um, sort of calming down and being able to focus better. Seeing
Right.
that in kids and even adult ADHD. Um, Sleep. Oh, that's a huge one. Many people are so dysfunctional because they don't get enough sleep. So they're it's how little kids are fake awake. They're just sort of bouncing off the walls trying to stay awake.
Yeah.
And adults do that too if we don't get enough rest. And so I've had a couple of, well, many instances. I've used it on myself for sleep because I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm a thinker. I'm a problem solver. So it's my mind gets on something. And it's like I got to get write this down because otherwise I'll
I know how you
forget it.
feel.
Yeah, and so I used it on myself to do that. And I've done like 30 sessions on myself. But if I get back in that mode of, oh, I'm not sleeping well, I'm getting up, thinking I'll do a couple more sessions and bring that back in line. But I've had people like would get 4 hours of sleep. I've had two guys that I was working with, 4 hours sleep, and they were just on that. And it was like, what are you doing? You need at least 6 hours or so to go through, four different REM cycles with
Right.
your sleep. And so that's been real successful helping
That's
people.
awesome. So even though your business is Core Value Counseling, your foundational business, you're helping people from all walks of life, not just couples counseling, right?
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah. We do a lot with couples. Um, my wife is a Gottman certified trainer, not just a therapist. So they've done over close to 50 years of research on couples. So our niche is couples, and that's what we've been focusing on. We still will. But this neurofeedback can help support people because many times you might have one individual that's just having some hard times with some different issues. Could be family of origin stuff that they've got trauma from or things like that. They need some extra help on their own, not just as a couple. And so this
Right.
can help them.
That's awesome. So when you think about the services that you offer, neurofeedback and counseling in general, can you describe it a little bit more detail? Because I know that you do quite a few things there. You got conferences and therapist training as well. Like you do a lot of things. So why
We
don't you
do.
speak a little bit about that?
We want to be helping as many couples as we can. Sabrina and I went through some tough times 25 years ago. That's why she went in and became a therapist. We worked on ourselves. Back then, there wasn't the internet and everything to look into in the 90s. But we we believe that we want to be the best counseling for couples group in the area. And that's why we do a lot of Gottman stuff that's well researched. We also want to help more therapists really be great couples therapists. And that's why we're a training facility. Today, actually, Sabrina's doing Gottman level 3 training for therapists. There's levels 1, 2, and 3, and then they can get certified. They go through a certification track. So Sabrina's way up there. I mean, there's only 14 in the world, I believe, that
Oh, wow.
at her level of training in the Gottman Institute.
Right.
And so we also have student interns that come to us, and they're still taking classes to be a therapist, but they're also with us learning to be a really good couples therapist and other areas too. And Sabrina was a teacher before she became a therapist, and I've been a teacher for 40 years. So we also believe we are the best place for people to come that want to learn, because we're not going to just throw you to the wolves and say, okay, go be a counselor. We have you sit in with master counselors like Sabrina, and you do co-therapy together for your first 3 months or so. You're working to learn. And so we're a really good training facility. So we get student interns. After you finish being a student intern, there's in Oregon anyways, there's associates. So an associate therapist is registered with the state, but they're not a licensed therapist yet. You have to have 1,900 hours. You have to be done with graduation in 2 years past that. And you have to pass a national counseling exam. And so those three things before you become licensed. And so we have a lot of associates too, that many of them were student interns of ours, and they stayed with us. And then we have licensed therapists after that. So we actually have our pay scale sort of varies depending upon their experience and training, with licensed therapists, of course, being the most expensive and stuff. So we do have a sliding scale to help people a lot of different
Okay.
areas.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. So one of the things that I know, working with many neurofeedback providers over the years, is that it's not well known, right? And people need to be educated about it.
Right.
So most people have, something on their site about it, or maybe it's, pure neurofeedback practice and their site's really focused on that. The aim of what we're doing here at All About Neurofeedback is to make it so it's an educational resource for clients as
Right.
well, right? So what is your process like? Like if somebody's interested in, connecting with you and seeing if, you might be a good fit, or you might, find out together if they're a good fit. What is your process for bringing them on board?
They can find out a little bit of information, then set up a video conference call with me. So I spend 30, 45 minutes with them, talking it through, finding out what really they want the neurofeedback for. And then after that, if it's a good fit so far, then we schedule an appointment for them to come in, and we actually do the first intake, which takes about an hour and a half to go through you got like 3 or 4 goals. We need to have SMART goals that are measurable, so they can see that progress being made. And then there's like 90 questions we go through that's going to talk about family history, as far as psychological history. It's going to ask about sleep. It's going to ask about, everything from noise. Does that bother you? And all these different things. We're just checking boxes, yes or no, on these 90 questions. Those 90 questions set the protocols for how we set it up as far as what we're connecting and then what the machine is going to do with the brain. Um, and then we do a session to give them. And we're offering that right now, free, just to the consult with me and the hour and a half sort of introductory thing free. But the thing they need to understand is that insurance companies are not going to pay for it. Very few will. And so we just don't even bother because we've tried so many times and just nobody does, or maybe they'll do
Right.
10 sessions, but you need at least 20 sessions to build the neural pathways. Um, and
I think
so,
the thing to understand about that, though, for people to understand, is that when you think about, if it's a few $1,000s to kind of get to that point where, you're better, right? Versus, dealing with a problem for years, right? Um, I mean, it's life changing.
yeah,
People can, perform better at work. The home life is better. All the things that are important to us, right?
right.
So, you think about a lot of people kind of go to these meditation apps and things, which I think are great, by the way. And brainwave entrainment, that's kind of another thing that, I've been familiar with for 20 something years. But it's not the same as neurofeedback, right? So even though those can help you relax, it's not going to usually address the underlying issues that are happening, which is the brainwaves, right? So it's a shortcut, and it's also effective and relatively permanent for many people, right?
Yeah,
You
it
know,
can, very much can be.
yeah,
Everybody's different, and usually it'll take about 5 to 8 sessions to see. I mean, with the one gal, like I said, with that would pass out, it helped her right away. But most people, I tell them, hey, within 5 sessions or so, we should see some progress. And if not, we actually play a little game on the computer, send that to Dr. Bill Scott, who he developed Brain Paint, which is the version of what we use for
right.
neurofeedback, and he'll send us new protocols back. So we don't
Okay,
want you to plateau, whether it's in talk therapy or if it's in neurofeedback.
right. And that example of the lady that was passing out, I mean, could you imagine how hard that would have been for her, you know? And it's the thing that people don't really know about neurofeedback, and if they do, they don't understand how well researched it is, and it's been around for 60 years,
Right.
and thousands of practitioners like yourself are helping people all around the world, and it's a real thing.
Yeah.
NASA, I think, was using it for. I think they're one of the first ones to use it in terms of research. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Epilepsy was another big one that it was used for initially, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
there's a wealth of research out there, and we're slowly getting more and more of that on our All About Neurofeedback site. But it's something that can literally change somebody's life. Addictions, right?
Fictions.
You
Yeah.
know, right? The
Still need
mental
to do
health
talk
conditions.
therapy with Dr. Bill Scott. Actually, he was working with addictions and different things.
Yeah,
Said you still need to do talk therapy, but with the neurofeedback, you're going to see a lot quicker progress and a lot more permanent.
yeah, exactly. So there's so many benefits, right? And this is why I'm honored to work with people like yourself, because I think if we can get this out there more, it's going to change a lot of lives, right? It really is.
Yeah, and I really believe it's really helpful and beneficial. I wish more people could use it. I wish insurance companies would pay for it. That would be nice, but they just
Right,
don't.
right.
And that would get it out into the public eye, I think, more too.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it is, it's not something that doctors promote. It's something that, dare I say, pharmaceutical companies don't like, right?
And I think
Um,
doctors don't know much about it either.
they don't. They don't. So it's not a criticism of doctors. It's just the fact that, people don't know about it, right? So, anyways, that's what we're aiming to change. Is there anything else that you would like to add, or any things that?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I'm excited to help more people, and I hope people listening to this feel more educated, that they understand what neurofeedback is more, and give it a try. You know,
Awesome.
Sure.
Well, hey, you go down to the profile for Core Values Counseling. There'll be a page link there for scheduling and as well to your site so they can learn more. And, if you have any, and you're also going to do some writing for the site, which will be great. So, it's going to be awesome. So thank you so much for your time here today, Eric. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you too.